The station was crowded that morning, filled with the noise of rushing people, rolling suitcases, and the faint sound of a distant announcement. Everyone was busy. Nobody cared about the small upright piano placed near the corner. It was just another piece of decoration for most, something people ignored on their way to work. But then something unexpected happened. A little girl, no more than 6 years old, stepped forward through the crowd. She wore a faded pink coat and carried a small backpack that looked too big for her tiny shoulders. Her hair was tied in 2 uneven braids, and her shoes made soft tapping sounds as she walked. She stopped in front of the piano, stared at it for a few seconds, and then slowly climbed onto the stool. At first, people smiled politely, thinking she would just bang random keys like most children do. But the moment her fingers touched the keyboard, something magical filled the air. The first notes of Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata floated through the station, soft, deep, and haunting. The sound was pure, clean, and full of emotion that no one expected from a child so young. A few people turned their heads, curious. Then a few more stopped. Phones came out of pockets. Cameras began recording. Within seconds, the noise of the crowd faded. The only sound was the piano, and the small girl who played as if she had lived 100 years. Her fingers moved gracefully, each note flowing into the next like a story told in music. Her eyes were half closed, her lips pressed together. She didn't look at the keys, she didn't even seem to breathe. It was as if the piano was part of her body. A man in a suit dropped his coffee without realizing it. A mother stopped scolding her child. A street cleaner froze with his broom midair. No one had ever seen anything like it. The melody echoed through the high ceiling of the station, wrapping around the people like a warm blanket and freezing time itself. When the piece reached its slow, emotional middle section, tears began to appear in some people's eyes. The music carried something heavy, something sad. The little girl's small hands trembled as they moved across the keys. But she didn't stop. She played until the last note faded into silence. Then nothing for a few long seconds. The crowd just stood there, quiet and stunned. Then came the applause. Loud, honest, and full of shock. The noise filled the entire station. People shouted, "Bravo!" and "Unbelievable!" Some threw coins onto the piano. Others clapped until their hands turned red. A young man who had recorded the whole thing quickly uploaded it online. Within minutes, the video started spreading. The caption read, "6-year-old girl plays Beethoven flawlessly in train station." By the end of the day, it had over 10 million views. Everyone wanted to know who she was, where she came from, who taught her to play like that. Some said she must be a genius. Others joked that she was Beethoven reborn. News channels replayed the clip over and over. Talk shows invited music experts to explain how such a young child could play with that much skill and emotion. But no one had real answers. The girl didn't speak during or after her performance. She simply stood up, smiled shyly, and disappeared into the crowd with her backpack still hanging from her shoulders. Nobody knew where she went. Later, people started searching for her. Some claimed to have seen her again in different cities, always alone, always near a piano. But every video looked the same song, the same calm face, the same mystery. One journalist tracked down the original uploader, a university student named Pavel. He said he didn't know her personally. He just happened to be there that morning. She came out of nowhere, he said. It was like she didn't belong to this world. Some online users tried to identify her through facial recognition, but the results were strange. The software couldn't match her to any known identity. A few even claimed that her image appeared in an old news article from years earlier, showing another little girl who looked exactly like her, playing piano in a hospital fundraiser. That article was dated 5 years before. Conspiracy theories began spreading fast. Some said she was part of a secret music program for gifted children. Others believed she was being trained by an unknown organization that studied the human brain through music. A few even claimed she wasn't entirely human, saying no child could play like that without emotion breaking them. But for the millions who had seen her video, none of that mattered. They just remembered the feeling, the quiet moment when the noise of the world stopped, and a small child made everyone believe in something magical again. Music teachers began showing her video to students, inspiring them to practice harder. See? They said, age doesn't matter, it's about the soul. But some teachers secretly watched with fear, because they could see something strange in the way she played. A mechanical perfection, a level of precision that didn't feel natural. Weeks passed and more versions of the video appeared. Some claimed to have better sound. Others had close-up shots of her hands. Every version brought new viewers, new theories, and new admiration. The girl became an internet mystery, the world's youngest prodigy, known only by her first name whispered in the comments, Anna. And just as suddenly as she appeared, she vanished. No one saw her again in that train station. No one could find her online. The only thing that remained was the video, the one that made millions stop and wonder. Was she just a gifted child with an extraordinary gift? Or was there something more? Something hidden behind those gentle hands and haunting notes? The question spread faster than the video itself. And somewhere, maybe far away, maybe close, a piano waited quietly for the girl who played like she carried a secret no one was meant to hear. After the video of the little girl playing Beethoven went viral, the world could not stop talking about her. Everyone wanted to know who she really was. Reporters searched online, music teachers tried to find her name, and fans created pages calling her the Miracle Girl. But the truth was nobody knew anything about her, not even her full name. A few weeks later, a small local newspaper in Eastern Europe published a short story about a girl who looked exactly like her. The article mentioned a child named Anna, living in a quiet town surrounded by forests and snow. The writer claimed she played piano in the local community hall once, and everyone who heard her was left speechless. Soon big media channels followed this small clue, and teams of journalists arrived in the town. When they reached her family's home, they found a simple old house made of wood. The windows were small and smoke came out of a thin chimney. Anna's parents were both factory workers, kind but shy people who didn't like attention. They said they had never been rich, never had tutors, and never owned a piano until recently. The father, a tall man with tired eyes, told reporters that Anna had started playing music suddenly. "We bought an old piano from a neighbor who was moving," he said. "It was just for decoration. She touched it once, and somehow, she started playing like she had done it before." The mother nodded beside him, adding softly, "No one taught her. We don't even know how she reads notes." The journalists didn't believe it. They looked around the small house, searching for signs of secret lessons. They found no sheet music, no computer, no fancy instruments, just the old piano with a few keys chipped. But one thing caught their attention: strange footprints in the snow leading to the back door, footprints that didn't match any of the family's shoes. When the reporters asked about it, the father grew silent. He exchanged a nervous look with his wife, and she whispered, "He comes sometimes." One journalist leaned forward. "Who comes?" The mother hesitated and said, "The old man. We call him Professor Ivan." They explained that every few nights, an old man with white hair and a worn leather bag would visit their home. He would stay for an hour or two, sometimes more. No one knew where he came from or where he lived. He never talked much. He just sat beside Anna, watched her play, and sometimes placed his hand gently on her shoulder. After he left, Anna would always play better, faster and with more emotion. Curious, the reporters asked around the neighborhood. Some people said they had seen the old man walking down the road late at night, carrying a cane and humming old symphonies. Others said he used to be a famous musician who disappeared years ago after a terrible scandal. No one knew his real name. One neighbor, an old woman named Marta, said she once tried to speak to him. "He looked at me with strange eyes," she said, "like he could see inside my mind." She also said she heard strange sounds coming from the house when he was there. Not just piano music, but other noises like humming machines and low voices speaking in rhythm. The journalists decided to find him. They waited near the family's house for 2 nights, but no one came. On the 3rd night, they saw a shadow moving through the fog. The man was tall with long white hair and wore a long black coat. He walked slowly, leaning on a cane, and carried a bag that looked very old. Inside it were sheets of music and some kind of old device with wires. They called out to him, but he didn't respond. He went inside Anna's house, and through the window, they could see him sitting next to her at the piano. Anna played with closed eyes, and he seemed to whisper something in her ear. The lights flickered, and then the music grew faster, louder, more emotional. It sounded almost impossible, like more than one person was playing at once. After about an hour, the music stopped. T touched Anna's head gently and walked out. The journalists tried to follow him, but when they turned the corner, he was gone. As if he had disappeared into the fog, they checked the snow. No footprints. Nothing. The next morning, when they spoke to Anna, she didn't seem to remember the night before. When they mentioned Professor Ivan, she smiled quietly and said, "He helps me hear the music better." When they asked what she meant, she pointed to her chest and said, "He doesn't teach my hands. He teaches my heart." After the reporters published their story, people online exploded with theories again. Some believed Professor Ivan was a ghost. Others said he was part of an experiment. A few said he was a retired music professor who trained gifted children secretly, but no one could find any records of him. No school, no ID, no photo, nothing soon. More strange details appeared. A music student from a nearby city claimed he once took lessons from a man named Ivan, who taught using sound hypnosis. He said Ivan could make students remember entire pieces after hearing them once. He also said that those lessons often left him dizzy, like his mind had been rewired. That student later deleted his post and refused to talk again. Some say he received threats, others say he was paid to stay quiet. Back in the small town, Anna continued to play, but something in her had changed. Neighbors said she had become quieter. She didn't play outside anymore, and her eyes seemed distant, like she was listening to something only she could hear. Every night her parents heard the piano playing, soft, haunting, beautiful. They didn't see Professor Ivan again, but sometimes in the middle of the night, the sound of a second piano could be heard faintly echoing from somewhere far away, as if answering her music. People started calling Anna the child of the whispering maestro, and though the world celebrated her, her parents grew afraid. They didn't understand how their daughter could play like that, and deep inside they wished she had never touched that piano at all, because ever since the old man came, the music never truly stopped. Even in silence, it seemed to follow her, growing stronger each day like a voice from another world, waiting for her to listen again. When reporters tried to meet Professor Ivan after his strange nightly visits to Anna's home, he refused to speak to anyone. He didn't open the door, didn't answer questions, and didn't even look at the cameras waiting outside. He simply disappeared again, just like before. Some people said he moved away. Others whispered that he was hiding. But the truth slowly began to come out from the shadows. One day, a music blogger received an anonymous message. The message contained an old voice recording. The file name was simple, ivantrainingsession.mp3. The blogger played it, and what he heard made his skin crawl. It wasn't just piano music. There were voices. The voice of a man giving cold, strict instructions, and the small voice of a child, tired and crying. "Again," the man's voice said. "You missed one note. Start from the beginning," the child replied softly. "I can't. My fingers hurt." "Pain is the wall between you and perfection," the man said. "We don't stop at pain, we pass through it." The sound of the piano started again, soft, trembling, then faster, stronger until it became almost mechanical, like hands moving faster than thought. The child stopped for a moment, breathing hard. Then the man's voice said something strange. "You are not playing with your fingers. You are playing with memory. Let the hands remember." The blogger posted the recording online, and within hours it went viral. People were shocked and confused. Who was the child in the recording? Was it Anna? Was Professor Ivan running some kind of secret training? More former students began to speak up. One young woman named Clara shared her story. She said she had once been taught by Ivan when she was 8. He was not cruel, but he was different, she said. He said music was not learned, it was unlocked. She explained how he used strange exercises that no normal teacher used. He made her listen to songs in the dark for hours, sometimes with headphones that played the same note repeatedly until she fell asleep. When she woke up, she could play that melody perfectly without ever touching a piano. Clara said he called it muscle memory hypnosis, a method where he trained the brain to remember sounds like the body remembers breathing. He said the body can learn faster than the mind if you train it properly, she said. But the more she practiced, the more she felt like something was wrong. When I played, I didn't feel like it was me, she whispered. It felt like the piano was playing through me. Some people believed Clara's story, but others called it nonsense. Still, a pattern was forming. Each of Ivan's students had similar experiences, learning impossible pieces in just days, playing without mistakes and feeling detached from themselves while performing. Another boy, now grown up, told a darker story. He said Ivan would sometimes make them play for 10 or 12 hours straight, not allowing breaks if a student cried. Ivan would turn on a small machine that played a quiet, Rhythmic sound, a metronome mixed with a human heartbeat. The sound was hypnotic. After a while, the children would calm down and start playing again as if nothing had happened. This boy also said Ivan had a rule: no sheet music, no reading notes. Everything had to be learned by hearing. He said sight is a distraction, the boy explained. He wanted us to feel the music with our bones. One day, a secret document was leaked online, supposedly written by Ivan himself. It described his philosophy. Every mind has a gate, and music is the key. The gate opens when rhythm replaces thought. He believed children were perfect for this kind of training because their brains were still soft like clay, easy to shape and control. People started calling it the Ivan method, and while some thought it was revolutionary, others said it was cruel. Experts argued that this kind of training could damage a child's mind, forcing them to obey rhythm like machines instead of expressing real emotion. Meanwhile, Anna's behavior grew stranger. Her parents said she would sometimes wake up at night and start playing music in her sleep. Her eyes would stay closed, and she wouldn't respond when they tried to wake her. Once, her father noticed that she was playing a piece they had never heard before. When he asked her about it the next morning, she said, "It's something Professor taught me in my dream." Her parents grew terrified. They wanted to stop her lessons, but when they tried, Anna cried uncontrollably and said she couldn't. "The music doesn't let me stop," she said quietly. Then one evening, a local radio station aired a new interview with another of Ivan's old students, a woman who had escaped his lessons years ago. She said Ivan believed every human brain could be reprogrammed through sound. He thought perfect musicianship was not talent but control. He wanted to build a generation of children who could play anything instantly, she said. He said they would be the bridge between humans and something greater. When asked what that something greater meant, she didn't answer. She just looked at the camera with fear and said, "Don't let him near your children." After that interview, Professor Ivan vanished again. No one saw him. No one knew where he went. But a few people claimed to receive emails from anonymous addresses with attachments, pages filled with musical notes and diagrams of the human brain. Some said they recognized the handwriting as his. A rumor spread that Ivan had been hired by a secret organization studying how sound affects the brain. People said his research was being used for experiments, not art, but Anna's story continued to spread online, and people couldn't stop watching her videos. The comments were full of mixed emotions: awe, fear, sadness. Some said she was proof that human potential was limitless. Others said she was proof that innocence could be programmed. And late at night in the same quiet town, people swore they could still hear music floating through the cold air. Coming from Anna's house, the sound was perfect, too perfect. Like it wasn't played by hands at all, but by something invisible guiding the keys, something that remembered every note better than any human ever could. The world could not stop talking about Professor Ivan and his strange way of teaching, but no one knew where he really worked. Some believed he taught privately. Others whispered about a secret place where children like Anna were taken, a place known only by those who wanted to stay hidden. It started when a message appeared on a small online forum for musicians. The post came from someone calling themselves Echo Witness. It said, "I know where the Prodigies come from. There is a school that doesn't exist on any map." Most people thought it was fake, just another internet story. But then the user uploaded photos, real photos that no one could ignore. The pictures showed a large building deep in the mountains, surrounded by thick pine trees and fog. The building was made of stone with tall, narrow windows, and a small bell tower at the top. It looked like an old monastery. But the strange part was the children in every picture. They were sitting at pianos lined in rows, dozens of them, their faces pale and serious. None of them smiled. They all wore the same gray uniform and had small wires attached to their heads. People online began calling it the Hidden School. Some said it was in the Carpathian Mountains. Others said it was in Romania or Ukraine. The truth was, no one could tell. The photos had no location data. The mountain in the background could have been anywhere. Soon after, the anonymous poster shared one more photo. It showed a chalkboard with strange words written on it: perfection through rhythm, emotion through control. And under those words were two letters, IV, the initials of Professor Ivan. The photo spread fast, and soon reporters and detectives started searching for this place. A few even went to the mountains trying to find clues. One reporter named Helena described her trip. She said she followed an old dirt road that wasn't marked on any GPS. After hours of driving, she reached a small wooden gate covered with vines. It looked abandoned, but there were fresh tire marks on the ground. She walked further and found pieces of broken instruments, a violin string, a cracked metronome, and an old piano key. She said the air there felt strange, heavy, like something was watching. But when she tried to go deeper into the forest, a black van appeared out of nowhere and blocked the road. Two men stepped out and told her the area was private property. They said she had to leave immediately. She tried to argue, but their eyes were cold. Emotionless, she left, shaking. A week later, Helena's camera and notes disappeared from her hotel room. She never published the rest of her story. Meanwhile, more evidence began appearing online. A few parents claimed their children had received mysterious letters inviting them to a special music program abroad. The letters had no return address, only a symbol, a treble clef with a single eye drawn inside it. They promised full scholarship and elite mentorship, but those who accepted the offer said they never heard from their children again. One father shared that his daughter had gone to a school in the mountains 3 years earlier. She was 12, gifted at piano. After 6 months, she stopped calling. Then one day, he received a single package, a CD with her name on it. When he played it, he heard her performing a piece he had never heard before. It was beautiful but haunting, like it was filled with hidden messages. At the end of the recording, she whispered one sentence, "Papa, I can't stop playing." After that, no one could find her. People who studied the leaked photos said the children in the hidden school seemed to be wearing devices connected to a machine that looked like a brain scanner. Some experts claimed it was EEG equipment used for reading brain waves, but others noticed something strange. The machines also had small speakers that played faint rhythmic sounds, like hypnotic tones. A scientist who saw the footage said, "This isn't teaching, this is programming." Soon, the authorities were alerted. Police from different countries tried to trace the images, but the school was already gone. When they searched the supposed location, they found only ruins, burnt walls, and ashes, like someone had destroyed everything before they arrived. But nearby villagers told a different story. They said one night, black trucks came through the forest, and for hours, they heard the sound of pianos being smashed and machines being loaded. Then everything went silent. The next morning, the trucks were gone, and smoke rose from behind the trees. An old shepherd said he once saw the school when he was younger. He said the children there never spoke, never laughed. They practiced all day and all night. Guided by teachers who moved like shadows, he said, their eyes were empty, but when their hands were alive. After the news broke, some people said the government covered it up. Others claimed the building was never real to begin with. But there were too many signs, too many coincidences. Then, a short video appeared on the dark web. It showed a girl sitting at a piano in a dark room. Her face was pale and her eyes were wide open. Behind her, a man's shadow moved slowly. The girl played the same melody Anna had played in the train station, but this time there was another sound mixed with the piano, a low humming, almost like an electric vibration. Halfway through the video, the girl suddenly stopped, looked straight at the camera and whispered, "They make us remember things that never happened." Then the screen went black. No one could prove where the video came from, but those who watched it said the room looked exactly like the one from the leaked photos. After that, the username Echo Witness disappeared. The account was deleted and all posts were erased. Some people said the uploader was caught. Others said they went into hiding in the end. The story of the hidden school became a mix of fear and legend. Some said it was destroyed, others said it simply moved somewhere deeper underground. But one thing was clear, Anna was not the only one. There were others, children who played too perfectly, who never smiled and who seemed to carry the same strange rhythm in their hands. Somewhere, hidden behind locked doors and old mountains, the music continued, played by small hands that no longer belonged to the children who once dreamed of being pianists, but to something else. Something that demanded perfection and punished silence with sound. Months passed after the truth about the hidden music school spread online. People talked about it for weeks. But then the world slowly moved on. New stories appeared. New scandals took over the news, yet one thing stayed the same. The question everyone still asked in whispers, where is Anna? The girl who had once played Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata and captured millions of hearts had vanished completely. Her social media pages were gone, her family refused interviews, and no one had seen her in public. It was as if she had disappeared into thin air. Some fans said her parents took her away to protect her from attention. Others believed she was still studying under Professor Ivan somewhere in secret. But the most chilling rumors said she had been taken by those who ran the hidden school. A few months later, a small music magazine from Berlin published a strange report. A street performer claimed he had seen a girl who looked exactly like Anna. He said she was sitting at an old piano in a quiet corner of Alexanderplatz, playing the same song that had made her famous. "I didn't believe my eyes," he told the reporter. She was older, maybe 7 or 8 now. But it was her, the same face, the same hands. She played so beautifully that people forgot to breathe, but there was something sad in her eyes. Something heavy. The man said she didn't talk to anyone when he tried to ask her name. She just smiled faintly and kept playing. Then, after she finished, she stood up, bowed politely, and walked away. She disappeared into the crowd before anyone could follow her. Someone managed to record a short clip of her performance on their phone. When the video went online, it exploded again. Millions of people watched, but this time, the feeling was different. In the first video, her music had felt magical and innocent. In this one, it was heartbreaking, full of pain and sorrow. Her hands trembled and tears ran down her cheeks as she played. Comments filled the internet. Some said it was clearly Anna. Others argued it was a look-alike. But musicians who analyzed the video noticed something strange. The notes she played were slightly different from the original Moonlight Sonata. It was as if she had changed the melody, made it darker, slower, almost like a message hidden within the song. One comment stood out. It came from a username called Forgotten Tone, and it read, "Listen carefully. She's not just playing music, she's asking for help." After that, people started to re-watch the video with headphones. Some claimed they heard faint whispers under the piano sound, words too soft to understand. But when a sound engineer analyzed the clip, he found something even more disturbing. A low hum behind the music, a frequency too perfect to be accidental, like a coded signal. A few days later, the video disappeared from every platform. Every repost was deleted within hours. Some said it was due to copyright issues. Others said it was removed by authorities, but the people who had saved it noticed something else. When they played the video offline, it no longer had sound, just silence. Meanwhile, Anna's parents went missing. Their neighbors said that one night, 2 black cars came to their house. The next morning, the house was empty. Only the piano remained. One man who worked near the town claimed he saw lights inside the house that night, flashing blue and white like electricity. He said he heard the piano playing by itself. Long after the family was gone, soon after, a letter appeared online, supposedly written by a government official who investigated the case. It said that several children who were once part of the gifted music programs were being moved to different countries under new names. The letter also mentioned high-value subjects being transferred for further development. Anna's name was on the list. Next to the code A12, no one could confirm if the letter was real, but many believed it because even after all the chaos, sightings of Anna kept appearing, always in different cities. Prague, Vienna, Paris, and now Berlin, always alone, always near a piano. One witness said he saw her at an airport, sitting by a public piano playing quietly to herself. She looked like she was waiting for someone, he said. When I asked if she was lost, she said, "No, I'm being listened to." Then she stopped playing and walked away. Her words haunted him. "I'm being listened to." What did she mean? Was someone tracking her, controlling her? Or was she trying to send a message through her music? Then something even stranger happened. A music producer in London received a CD in the mail. There was no return address, just the word Anna, written in black ink. When he played it, the sound nearly broke him. The recording was of the Moonlight Sonata, but halfway through, the music shifted into an unfamiliar pattern. Notes that didn't belong. They repeated like a code, and in between, faintly, a child's voice whispered, "They can't stop the song." He tried to share it online, but every upload failed. The file kept getting corrupted. His computer crashed multiple times, and finally he threw it away. He said the music made him feel dizzy, like it was still playing inside his head long after it ended. The story spread again. People said Anna was being used for experiments involving neural sound control. Others said she was sending messages to warn the world. Some even believed she was communicating from beyond, that maybe she didn't survive the training. But her recordings did. A few music scientists studied her new melodies and found strange patterns. Each piece had hidden mathematical sequences, too complex for a child to compose. One scientist said, "It's as if she's writing with sound instead of words," another whispered. Or maybe someone is writing through her. The mystery grew darker when an old street camera from Berlin caught a blurry image of a man walking behind Anna on the day she was seen playing. He looked old with white hair and carried a black leather bag. When the image was enhanced, the bag had faint initials on it, IV. Was it Professor Ivan? Was he still alive? Still following her, no one knew. And as more people searched for the truth, one thing became clear. Every time someone tried to expose the story, their posts vanished, their accounts disappeared. The music that once made the world fall in love now carried fear. And somewhere in a quiet corner of a city, a small girl still played her piano, her fingers trembling as tears fell. She didn't play for fame anymore. She played to be heard, to be found, or maybe to warn the world before the music took her completely. After months of silence, the mystery of Anna and the Strange Music Academy took a darker turn. A man came forward claiming he knew the truth. He wasn't a teacher, not a parent, but someone from the inside, a music agent who once worked for the people who discovered Anna. His name was Michael Dane, and his voice trembled when he spoke. He agreed to one secret interview, filmed in a small room with the lights turned off. His face was half hidden in shadow, but his words were clear. "Everyone thinks these children are miracles," he said quietly. "But miracles don't come for free. What you've seen on the internet, the prodigies, the perfection, the emotion, none of it is natural." He explained that there was an underground network of gifted child programs that had been running for decades. These programs were not run by schools or music companies. They were owned by private investors, research labs, and secret sponsors who wanted to push the limits of the human brain. They weren't teaching children music, Michael said. They were studying them. Music was only the tool. He revealed that Professor Ivan had worked for one of these groups years ago. They were trying to unlock something called cognitive resonance, a theory that said certain sound frequencies could control how the brain learns and remembers. If done right, it could make a person learn anything instantly. They used music as the perfect experiment, he said, because sound reaches parts of the brain that words cannot. At first, it started with small programs, private lessons for talented kids, secret auditions for special students. Then it grew. The most promising children were taken away for advanced training. Most parents believed their kids were getting scholarships. They didn't realize their children were being used as test subjects. According to Michael, the children were connected to machines during lessons. The devices tracked their brain activity and heart rate while they played. Each time they made a mistake, the machines sent soft vibrations through their skin, invisible corrections. The more they played, the stronger the connection became between their minds and the rhythm. At a certain point, Michael said, the children stopped playing music. The music started playing them. He said Anna was one of their most successful subjects. Her brain showed perfect synchronization with the rhythm patterns, meaning she could learn a new piece after hearing it just once. But there was a price after too much exposure. The child's emotions began to fade. They lost their sense of self. They became like living instruments. Michael leaned closer to the camera. "You've seen it," he said. That look in her eyes, calm, focused, almost empty. "That's not genius. That's control." The interviewer asked who funded these experiments. But Michael hesitated. "Big names," he said finally. "Corporations that hide behind music foundations. Even some government labs, they said it was for art. But it was never about art. It was about testing how much control sound can have over a human mind." He said the experiments didn't stop when the hidden school disappeared. The research simply moved underground. "The school was only one location," he whispered. "There are others, maybe in Asia, maybe in South America. They keep changing places, changing names, but the children, they're still out there." The interviewer asked about Anna again. "Was she safe? Was she alive?" Michael looked down. "She was taken to another facility," he said. "They called her Project Lyra. They wanted to see if they could connect her music to others through neural resonance. They believed she could transfer learning to other children just by playing." He paused, shaking his head. I think that's why she disappeared. She was no longer a student. She was the experiment itself. When the interview ended, the footage was sent to an independent journalist named Erin Hayes. She uploaded a short clip online titled "The Whistleblower: The Truth Behind the Prodigies." Within a few hours, it had millions of views, but the next day it vanished. Her account was deleted and her website went offline. People thought it was just censorship, but then something worse happened. A week later, Erin Hayes was reported missing. Her car was found near a bridge, engine running, door open, laptop gone. At the same time, Michael Dane also disappeared. He stopped answering calls and emails. When police searched his apartment, they found it completely empty. Not even personal items were left on the table. There was only one thing: a single piece of paper with a line written in pencil. "Perfection is the proof of control." It was the same phrase found on the chalkboard inside the hidden school. After that, people began to panic. Anyone who had shared the video online claimed to receive strange emails. The messages had no sender, just an audio file attached when they played it. It was a soft piano melody, the same one Anna used to play, but after a few seconds, the notes began to distort, turning into whispers. Some people said they heard voices calling their names. Others said they started hearing the melody in their sleep. A few hackers tried to trace where the files were coming from. They found that the servers were located in different countries, constantly shifting, making it impossible to track. One hacker claimed the files were connected to a database labeled Project Resonance. Soon, rumors spread that the organization was still active and that Anna's music was now being used as a test signal, a way to study how sound affects people who listen repeatedly. Some people even reported feeling strange after listening to the leaked audio: headaches, memory gaps, and sudden moments of silence where they couldn't remember what they were doing. Meanwhile, musicians around the world began noticing something eerie. New child prodigies started appearing online. Young pianists, violinists, singers, all performing with impossible perfection. None of them spoke much, and all of them had the same distant look in their eyes. People started calling them the new children. One music teacher in Italy claimed one of his new students played a piece that no one had ever heard before, a song that perfectly matched the rhythm from Anna's video. When asked where she learned it, the girl simply said, "It came in my dreams." Now the world was beginning to realize that maybe the experiment had never ended. It had just changed form, moved quietly into new hands, spreading further than anyone could imagine. And somewhere out there, a small girl might still be playing her piano, not by choice, but because the world's most powerful people needed her music, a music that could open minds, erase fear, and control thought. The whistleblower had tried to warn everyone, but now he was gone, and only his words remained echoing in the dark. "They don't want musicians," he said. "They want machines made of flesh and sound." It had been months since the whistleblower and the journalist vanished. But one cold morning, something new appeared on the internet. A small USB drive was mailed to an independent news office in Prague. There was no return address, only a note that said, "For those still listening." Inside the package was a single file titled "Footage Truth Move." At first, no one took it seriously. The editors thought it was another hoax. But when they played the file, silence filled the room. The screen showed a dark basement lit by one flickering bulb. In the center stood a piano. Around it were small children sitting perfectly still. Each child had a thin wire attached to their heads, connecting them to a large metal machine covered in blinking lights. Then a man walked into the frame. Tall, thin, with white hair, his back was turned to the camera. But even without seeing his face, everyone knew who he was. It was Professor Ivan. He placed a sheet of music on the piano and said in a calm, "Col voice pour begin." The children started playing together, perfectly in sync. Not one mistake, not one pause. Their faces showed no emotion. They didn't blink. They didn't look at each other, they just played. Their small fingers moved like they were controlled by invisible strings. The camera zoomed in on the machine beside them. A screen displayed wave patterns, numbers, and one word flashing repeatedly: resonance stable. Then something strange happened. As the music grew faster, the children's bodies began to tense. Their hands shook, their breathing quickened. But they didn't stop, even when tears rolled down their cheeks. Their fingers never missed a note. A man's voice from behind the camera said, "Increase frequency." The lights on the machine turned red. The hum of electricity grew louder. The children screamed, but their hands still played. The piano notes became sharp, almost painful to hear. Then suddenly, the screen cut to black after a few seconds. White letters appeared on the screen. Perfection is the proof of control. When the editors saw this, they froze. One of them whispered, "We can't release this." Another replied, "If we don't, they'll win." But before they could decide, the office lost power. All computers shut down. When they turned them back on, the file was gone, deleted. Even the USB drive was empty. Still, one intern had secretly copied the file to her phone. She sent it to a few journalists she trusted. Within hours, the footage was leaked online. People across the world watched it in horror. Some said it was fake. Others said it was too real. The debate didn't matter. The video spread like wildfire. But something strange happened again within 24 hours. Every upload of the footage was taken down, not just from social media but even from private devices. People said their hard drives crashed after watching it. Some claimed their phones started playing a low humming sound, even when turned off, despite the video's disappearance. Thousands of people had already seen enough to remember it. Artists, scientists, and musicians started discussing what they saw. One music professor said, "The children's tempo and pitch weren't human. They were synchronized with machine rhythm." Another said, "That kind of control is not possible without external influence." Then someone noticed something even more chilling. In the background of the video, behind the rows of children, there was a shadow, a small figure sitting apart from the others. The figure had long hair and was playing alone, slower than the rest when the brightness was enhanced. The face became clearer. It was Anna. She looked older now, maybe 8 or 9. Her hands were smaller compared to the keys, but her playing was perfect. She wasn't wired like the other children. Instead, she had small lights glowing under her skin, like veins of electricity. Her eyes were half closed, her face peaceful. Then the camera caught her mouth moving slightly. She wasn't singing. She was whispering something, but the sound was lost in the noise. Someone later slowed down the footage and claimed to read her lips. The words looked like, "Help us." The song never stops. The internet exploded with fear and fascination. People demanded investigations, petitions were signed, and journalists tried to track down anyone connected to Professor Ivan or Project Resonance. But every time a lead appeared, it vanished within days. Websites went offline, files disappeared, and whistleblowers backed out, saying they were being watched. Then, one night, a small hacker group managed to re-upload a version of the video hidden on a secret site. They added subtitles and analysis, showing that the music in the background wasn't random. The notes followed a perfect mathematical pattern, a pattern that matched the brain's alpha and theta waves, the same frequencies used in sleep therapy and hypnosis. The hackers claimed the video proved that the experiments were never about music. They were about controlling human thought through sound. "The children are being used to tune the frequency of obedience," one hacker wrote. "If you control rhythm, you control reaction." The video didn't stay up for long. Within hours, the site was shut down and the hackers disappeared. One left a final message on their forum. "They found us. Don't listen to the melody if you hear it, it stays in your head." But even with all the warnings, people couldn't resist. Musicians tried to recreate the notes from memory. Some said they felt dizzy after playing. Others said they couldn't stop. A few even began seeing flashes of faces, children's faces, when they closed their eyes. Rumors spread that those who watched the full video started hearing faint piano music at night. Playing from nowhere, some thought it was imagination, but others swore it was real. One man said he heard the melody coming from his radio at 3 a.m. Even though it wasn't turned on, authorities denied everything, calling the video digital fiction. But too many people had seen it, and too many strange things kept happening. Some of the viewers said their dreams were filled with white rooms and soft piano music, always ending with the same phrase whispered in the dark: "Perfection is control." A few weeks later, a final version of the video reappeared for only 1 hour on a hidden channel. It was shorter but had one new scene. It showed the empty basement. All the pianos gone, only dust and silence left. The camera panned slowly to the wall where something was written in chalk. 4 simple words: "The music remembers us." Then the video faded out, and the channel disappeared forever. But even after it was gone, People still claimed they could hear that same faint melody playing somewhere deep in their minds. Soft, endless, and haunting, the song that refused to die. Years passed after the video disappeared from the internet. The world had moved on, but the story of the piano prodigies never truly died. People still whispered about the mysterious school, the missing children, and the haunting melody that no one could forget. Some called it a conspiracy. Others said it was just an urban legend, yet deep down, many felt that something about it was real. Too real to be dismissed, it began again quietly. A small town in Italy reported strange music coming from an abandoned church at night. The locals said no one lived nearby. But the piano inside the church played on its own, always the same piece. Slow, sad, and impossibly perfect. When the police investigated, they found the piano still warm, as if someone had just been there. On the bench lay a single white ribbon, the same kind Anna used to wear in her hair. Soon after, more sightings started appearing. A girl with pale skin and long hair seen near train stations, music halls, and street pianos across Europe. She never spoke, never stayed for long. She would play a few haunting notes and then vanish before anyone could approach her. Witnesses swore it was Anna, but every time they tried to record her, their phones stopped working. Some said the music caused a strange humming sound that made people dizzy. In one video, blurry and full of static, a shadowy figure could be seen watching from a distance. The outline looked like an old man with white hair and a cane. People online argued whether it was Professor Ivan or just coincidence. But those who studied the clip noticed something chilling. The man was carrying the same worn leather bag from years ago, the one with the initials IV burned into the side. Music researchers started analyzing the strange recordings people claimed to hear. Some said the melody had an unusual structure. Each part repeated exactly every 47 seconds, a rhythm that matched the average resting heartbeat of a child. It's like the music is alive, one scientist said. It adjusts to the listener, changes with their pulse. Then one by one, adults who had once been part of those child music programs began resurfacing. They were grown now, in their 20s, scattered across different countries. Some of them remembered bits and pieces, flashes of bright lights, the sound of machines, and endless piano sessions. But many had no memory of their early years at all. It's like someone erased half my childhood, one woman said. Sometimes I dream of playing, but when I wake up, my hands ache. And I don't know why. Another survivor, a man named Luca, said he could still hear music when everything was silent. It follows me, he whispered during an interview. When I close my eyes, I see her, the girl who played beside me. She's still playing somewhere. I can feel it. He claimed that the children were connected to each other through something called the resonance line, a mental link created by the experiments. When one of us plays, the others feel it, he said. That's why none of us can forget. No one could confirm his story, but psychologists who examined him said his brain activity was unusual. His neurons fired in rhythmic waves, like a metronome that never stopped. Then, an old notebook appeared on an online auction site. It was said to belong to Professor Ivan himself. The pages were filled with musical notes, strange diagrams of human brains, and handwritten sentences like "sound is memory" and "children are the key." One line stood out. Written in red ink, "The music must not stop, or the connection will fade." Experts who analyzed the handwriting confirmed it matched letters from Ivan found decades ago. This discovery reignited the mystery, and once again, people began searching for Anna. A year later, a reporter named Sophia claimed she found her. She said she met a woman in her early 20s in a small cafe in Vienna. The woman played the piano there every weekend under the name Lyra. Her music was breathtaking, soft, emotional, and strangely familiar. When Sophia asked her about her childhood, the woman smiled faintly and said, "I don't remember much."
Only the sound. Sophia described feeling an odd pressure in her head while listening to the music.
Like the melody was wrapping around her thoughts. When she tried to record the performance, her phone froze. The next day, she returned to the cafe, but the piano was gone, and the owner said no one named Lyra had ever played there. 2 weeks later, Sophia received an envelope with no sender. Inside was a small piece of paper with 6 musical notes written on it, and a message: "She's still playing." As time went on, the story faded once again into silence. The world forgot. But musicians around the globe began noticing something strange. New compositions, written by different people, started sharing the same hidden melody. The same pattern of notes Anna had played. It was as if the song had found its way into the minds of others, spreading quietly and visibly. Some composers claimed they wrote it in their dreams. Others said it came to them suddenly, as if whispered by someone unseen. Music critics started calling it the lost song, saying it was haunting, beautiful, and impossible to forget. No one knew who created it, but everyone who heard it felt the same. An ache deep in their chest, a sense of sadness they couldn't explain. One day, a sound technician studying those recordings made a terrifying discovery. When he ran the melody through a frequency analyzer, he found faint echoes hidden under the piano tones, echoes that formed words, a human voice whispering softly, "We are still here." After that, he deleted all his files and quit his job. He said the music followed him wherever he went, playing faintly through static, through wind, even through silence. And that's when people began to realize something. Maybe the story of Anna wasn't about one girl or one experiment anymore. Maybe the music itself had become alive, a ghost born from sound, a memory that refused to die. In the end, no one ever found Professor Ivan. No one proved what really happened to the children. But some say that late at night, if you walk through a quiet street or an empty station, you might hear a piano playing softly somewhere in the distance. The melody will sound familiar, like something from a dream, and if you listen closely, you might hear a small voice whispering between the notes. Calm and eternal, the music never stops.